Okay, bear with me. For this review, we're gonna need to go back. I mean, way back. I'm talking Games World on a weekday morning back. I'm talking Bad Influence in the afternoons post-school back. The 90s, where Tiny Toons were running amok and WAP was facilitated by BT Cellnet. A time where racing games to me were Outrun and Super Hang-On. Arcade affairs with strict timers that had you zipping through the countryside to hit checkpoints at breakneck speeds. On the flip side, there were games like Super Monaco GP and Top Gear. These races were the ones I went to in the early 90s if I wanted a challenge mixed with strategy and nuance. Then suddenly, Mario threw his hat in the ring and pretty much dominated the casual racing market. Back then, we were dashing shells in the back of people's heads, micro-machining it up with Codemasters, and singing in the arcade at the top of our lungs. Daytona! The 90s, wherever your tipple felt like it had you covered, whatever your racing fix. However, in 1997, Polyphony's Gran Turismo arrived on the original PlayStation 1 to disrupt the racing game genre. Real-life cars, just like the ones you'd see parked on a high road outside your nan's house, were the mainstay. A game about buying second-hand cars, finishing respectably in third and fourth, and meticulously fine-tuning your motor with the winnings. The warbling graphics of the PS1 original were groundbreaking for its time. The cinematic replays, the licensed car manufacturers, the Michelin Man seal of approval. Gran Turismo was indeed the real driving simulator. 25 years on and over 85 million copies sold over the various entries later, Gran Turismo 7 arrives for the PS4 and PS5 consoles. Featuring ray-traced graphics, over 400 cars, and what promises to be a celebration of motorsport as a whole. Is there still space for simulation races like this one, and do people still care about them like they did all those years ago? Well, my name's Inel, this is Gamification, and let's find out. Before we dive in, a few bits of admin off the top. 90% of people who watch my videos on this channel aren't subscribed. So, click the subscribe button to stay up to date and to help me out. Thank you. Also, some transparency, PlayStation UK were kind enough to provide me with an early review copy of Gran Turismo 7 on the PS5. PlayStation has had no say regarding the content within this review. They are watching this at the same time as you. Right, Gran Turismo 7. Although the numbered 7th release, this is around Gran Turismo's 12th outing with its numerous concept and prologue offerings to bide the time between mainline releases. I won't lie, it's been a while since I've personally sunk my teeth into a mainline entry. Other racing titles have successfully snatched my attention away over the years, and Gran Turismo has happily been doing its own thing, away from its contemporaries' innovations and industry trends. So, what should newcomers and returning fans like myself expect from this new 25th anniversary entry? Firstly, Gran Turismo 7 is a complex game filled with tons of features for those that like to delve deep. I don't want this review to get too much into the nitty-gritty, but I still wish to inform you of what to expect from this type of simulation racer. And hopefully by the end of this video, you'll be able to determine whether this is the sort of experience for you. So, what can you expect? Is there a story mode, a campaign? Well, at the start of GT7's single-player campaign, your guide is Sarah. She'll show you around the various Gran Turismo sites and introduce you to its patrons who reside in the different areas on your world map. The menu is reminiscent of its original GT roots. It has the garage where you can store your cars, the cafe where you can get missions, and world circuits where you can race across several different tournaments around the globe. As you progress through the campaign, you unlock other areas by completing missions or menus within the cafe hub. Lucas, who runs the cafe, is your main point of call to receive career missions that structure the single-player mode. These include passing license tests, acquiring specific cars, fine-tuning said cars, and then winning associated tournaments. The cafe immediately sets out the vibe on what to expect. GT is about taking your time and getting to know each vehicle you procure in your garage, like a finely brewed coffee. Lucas and his friends divulge some of the history and accolades of the cars you acquire upon completion of successful menus. The cafe is one of the best new additions for Gran Turismo. It breaks down the many racing elements into manageable, bite-sized challenges. Finish top 3 in a race, earn your B license, buy a second-hand car, tune that car. This game wants you to understand what makes each car you come across unique. GT has always provided a ton of information about the cars it includes, but this cafe delivery method gives it a more relaxed, refined, cozy feel. I like it. The developer's love for cars is contagious, and it's not long before you start to appreciate the small details that comprise the crux of this experience. It's a shame that these passionate characters you come across aren't accompanied by voiceover. Of course, it does help if you are interested in racing to begin with, for these elements to have any impact on you. At times, Gran Turismo 7 can feel like an interactive car museum. Interiors can be perused, external reflections scrutinized, and everything under the hood can be tweaked and tuned to give you the edge on the circuit. If micromanagement isn't your thing and you've always raced with everything switched to auto, then, well, there is still a huge threshold to overcome in appreciating this game's appeal. Gran Turismo 7 is not a pick-up-and-play racer. Then again, the series never really has been. Alright, but what about the actual racing I know? How does this game feel? How does it control? Can you feel the difference between an Audi R8 and a Mazda RX-7? Well, numerous control options are presented to the player off the bat, with breakdowns of what it means for gameplay and recommendations. Tilt controls are available for the Mario Kart fans, and the original control scheme of having acceleration tied to the cross button is here for those who hark back to those early GT days. Racing wheel support is also available, although I personally played with the DualSense controller. The analog triggers do a great job in helping you get to grips with the variations of how these cars handle. The DualSense adds vibration changes depending on the track conditions. You can feel your car fighting to keep its grip on the tarmac as the back gives way and the car begins to understeer. The Tokyo highway track, especially on wet races, can be a bit much for the senses, as you can feel each tire as it goes over the individual rumble strips. Combined with the car sensations and rain aesthetics, I thought it was an overload during some frantic races. This is the only track in which I noticed the abundance of vibrations though, and the rest of the time the DualSense functionality greatly added to the experience. See, this is where we're starting to see a pattern emerging here. Every element allows you to delve deeper if you choose to. For some, that can be pretty daunting, especially when you hear there are over 400 cars split between 62 manufacturers. For others, this level of detail is what they adore about this series. 34 circuit locations ranging from series classics like Trial Mountain, real-life circuits like the hairpinned Laguna Seca, and fictional tracks like Tokyo Expressway, all of which feature time of day and weather customizability on top of over 90 course variations. That's a lot of game to sink your teeth into. Undoubtedly, the cars are the stars of the show here, rendered in their glorious 4K. Blink, and you can sometimes be forgiven for thinking that these are the real deal. They're simply gorgeous. You're not going to get complete body destruction here, but scratches and scrapes are represented on the vehicles. Maybe with the next GT entry solely built for this generation of console, we'll see some full body destruction, but for now, it's only minor representations of damage on the car models. Whilst we're talking graphics, Gran Turismo 7 offers 2 graphical modes: prioritize ray tracing and prioritize performance modes. Ray tracing only seems to take effect outside of gameplay in cutscenes, replays, and photo modes, whilst performance mode is 60 frames per second across the board. Throughout this review, so far I've been showing a combination of ray trace replays and performance mode footage, and as silky smooth the gameplay is in 60 frames per second, I prefer the look of the ray trace replays myself. GT has always had a cinematic touch to its shot construction, and you won't be disappointed by the options available. Everything from thumbnail settings, photo mode preparations, and even a speedy rewind feature. Ultimately, the choice is up to you, and these modes don't affect the main gameplay. Both seem to play at 60 frames per second on PS5 when behind the wheel, and can be changed in the options at any time. Thankfully, Gran Turismo 7's actual driving is very approachable. You won't be driving the insanely fast cars up front, instead you'll be getting acquainted with the Renault Clios and the Toyota Acras of the world. As part of the initiation, the braking zone assist is available for beginners. Whenever you drive into these braking zones, the game will automatically apply the brakes for the driver to the recommended speed. It's still up to the player to line up for the apex, but this can alleviate some of the pressures of judgment when it comes to simulation racing. Long-time Gran Turismo fans will remember the bane of the license tests, and yes, they are back. But it is nice to see these considerations for new drivers to get acquainted with the series traditions. Associated with the braking zones, there is the braking assist indicators, which flash red when it's time to brake. And as your car reaches the desired speed on the idle line, the braking area will slowly go opaque. Alongside the braking options is the recommended gear that your car should be in to take the next upcoming turn, best angle of approach indicators for the idle line on the apex, mini-maps, radars, proximity indicators, and mid-race customizable traction control assist. Whoa. We're getting into the nitty-gritty. That's a lot of onboard computer management to deal with mid-race during a blisteringly fast championship. I know, luckily, these options can be tweaked to your desired playstyle, and most of these options that are listed are automated unless you choose to go at it manually. Once your confidence grows, each assist can be disabled. I feel like this is a welcome addition to a series known for its serious approach to racing, especially after the last entry, GT Sport. Just because the game is a lot easier to get to grips with does not mean you'll be playing this like an arcade racer. Using your competitors to get around corners in this game is a big no-no and frowned upon by the community. I know some of you like to use your competition as pinball bumpers to keep your speeds up, but ramming into cars to get past tricky hairpins is discouraged for a more courteous driving style. This is also extended to the online modes in which you're penalised for unsportsmanlike behaviour with time penalties. Speaking of online, let's talk about the elephant in the room. You've probably heard by now, Gran Turismo 7 is an always online game service. I know that may deter some potential players, especially as the offline options are minuscule. I'd advise those playing without an internet connection against picking up this game. No career mode progress, showrooms, photoscapes, or tuning centers can be accessed offline. Just a few arcade races, the music replay, and time trials, all of which provide no experience points. With the mountain of options this game has, the offline mode feels like a demo you would play at an event or included with a magazine like back in the day. It's that bare bones. Several hours will need to be spent in the campaign just to unlock the online multiplayer options. And more puzzlingly, the two-player split-screen mode is also locked behind an internet requirement. Whilst fantastic as an inclusion split-screen is, it's curious that off the bat the split-screen mode is unavailable. But why the online DRM? Well, this game features microtransaction top-ups. Gran Turismo 7 uses a credit system that can be earned in-game or topped up with real money. Credits are used for everything, whether that is purchasing cars, tuning them, or even washing them. More so than any other Gran Turismo game from the past, this game constantly rewards you with cars upon completion of races. Yet none of these cars can be sold for credits to offset future purchases, like you could in previous Gran Turismo games. I don't know, it doesn't feel great as an inclusion in a first-party PlayStation title. Like many other racing games, this game features tons of licensed vehicles and vendors, and like those other games, eventually those licenses expire, and with it, potentially the opportunity to purchase and play those racing games. To this day, one of my favorite races of all time, Outrun 2, can only be played with the physical Xbox and PSP copies on the original platforms. Since Sega's Ferrari license has lapsed, all digital versions of the game have been delisted. This can also be a legitimate worry when considering Gran Turismo's potential future, especially as additional money can be spent on this product. Brand Central requires an internet connection to access the various videos. The used car showroom rotates daily with different cars. That also requires an internet connection. The numerous leaderboards and daily events, these systems that Polyphony Digital employs all rely upon a stable internet connection. As we've seen recently with post-launch patches, car prices and potential winnings for events can fluctuate and not necessarily in the player's favor. Everything I've seen post-launch so far suggests that this game can become harder to grind for credits to encourage the top-up system, which I dislike. One of the reasons I waited to put out this review was to see how this system would affect gameplay. Sadly, it's not been great so far. And for a game primarily played in single player, I feel like the always online requirement is more intrusive than it needs to be. In time, we shall see how this develops. But I felt it vital to let those interested know, wagwan, you know what I mean? It's a larger ongoing conversation that needs to be had, and hopefully the vocality of the Gran Turismo fanbase will affect future developments in a positive light. We shall see. Right, let's get back into some other modes. The license tests are back! Yay! The legendary license tests are back to help the uninitiated get to grips with controlling various types of vehicles. These are small challenges that will help you become a better driver overall. It's nice to see that they've honoured previous professional Gran Turismo sport races into the game. Many of the licensed instructors and your opponents in the championship races are real-life Gran Turismo players. Immortalising them in this mainline entry is an excellent acknowledgement of their achievements within the community. Although the game seems quite intimidating initially, the difficulty isn't too bad for this game. Passing these tests with a bronze is sufficient, but getting gold on every challenge can be very addictive. Luckily, jumping backwards and forwards between the menus is alleviated by the swift PS5 loading times. The longest I've had to wait to get into a race on the PS5 version is 2 seconds. Much quicker than any other entry in the series' history, this encourages you to keep playing as you can quickly jump into another race within a matter of seconds. The Beyond the Apex magazine companion, which can be accessed from the main menu or online, also details every aspect of the GT experience, from cornering philosophy to racing terminology, many of which I've been flexing in this review, as I've just learned about them. I can't remember the last time a video game had me tweaking the granular details of my hatchback. It's a testament to some engaging game design that Gran Turismo 7 has you fine-tuning minor aspects of your car to eke out performance. So much effort put in just to shave off 100th of a second in order to get gold. The settings even let you inspect the tuning differences between each individual part and how they affect the vehicle's overall performance. If GT clicks for you, it can be an addictive gameplay loop. This is not just a racing sim, but an education in cars. I thought I knew a bit about cars, but Gran Turismo is something else. It doesn't feel like an exam either. It feels more like a passion project, and the developers want to show off all the aspects of driving in the best light possible. Sure, I still might get bumped by the mechanics when I take my car to get its MOT, but at the very least, I'll have a little bit more of an understanding of each of the different parts within my car. Each tuning screen gives you access to a helpful advisor who can offer suggestions to which elements could be paired together to obtain optimal performance. It does help that this process is accompanied by some smooth lounge jazz, iconically associated with the game series. It's a similar vibe to games like Football Manager, in which you can spend just as much time in the menus tweaking as you can actually in the thick of it. Other games are eager to just get you out on the road. Gran Turismo is content and wants you to engage and feel just as enthusiastic about the little touches as the developers so clearly are. I swear, half the time they don't even want you driving the cars, but just to marvel at them. And marvel at them you shall, because these are some of the best virtual representation of cars I have ever seen. And Polyphony knows it. Each angle is methodically chosen to showcase the cars in their best light, with stunning camera work that you'd associate with the best car adverts on TV. GT7 also hands you the camera with its in-depth photo modes, allowing you to save every replay, customize it with dynamic music options, photoscape modes that embed your car within high-resolution photos, the whole works. Believe me, you can spend a significant amount of time within these menus. Brand Central even has you learn about each car manufacturer, with many of them having channel videos and museums dedicated to their design and ingenuity. For those that want to spend their time here, there's even behind the scenes videos on how Polyphony has collaborated with these manufacturers to include unique digitized cars for the series. Additionally, there's a fascinating timeline feature chronicling major automobile milestones that allow you to see what was going on in the world whilst innovations in motorcar history were being made. Lewis Hamilton even gets a section devoted to him, which I think is fantastic, and I'm hoping the always online demands will mean we will at least get updates to his career on subsequent timelines. So much attention to detail has gone into crafting this Gran Turismo 7 experience, and I haven't even mentioned all the other modes, like GT Sport and the daily online races, how you can customize your driver and cars with the livery editor. You can even wash your car and change its oil. There is so much to get stuck into that Gran Turismo 7 can have you engrossed for hours. That is, if the servers manage to stay online. There's a certain point in the GT experience that, once it clicks, you get what this game is and what it's trying to do. If you don't have the patience or interest in how this game presents its gameplay mechanics, this game may feel a little slow and tedious compared to some of its more exciting rivals. Just like the 90s, the 2020s are full once again with fantastic racing games, each with astounding graphics, incredible soundtracks, story modes, and multiplayer options galore. Gran Turismo has a lot of competition, more so than it did 25 years ago. Games like Grid Legends are trying new things with the genre, expanding what racing games can mean to their players. iRacing and R-Factor have taken the simulation racer to new heights within the esports scene. Gran Turismo feels almost stubborn with its refusal to change or evolve certain aspects of its core gameplay design. Love 'em or hate 'em, the rolling starts are still here for most of the campaign, the license test can still be frustrating for some, and the grind exasperated by the microtransaction system can act as a gatekeep to some of the more luxurious cars, many of which you'll have to be invited to buy, and that's if you have the credits to afford them in the first place. Gran Turismo 7 isn't without its quirks, but this is without a doubt the most accessible Gran Turismo game we've seen in a while. The racing feels fantastic, especially with the new DualSense controller, and the new customization options are incredibly welcome. The always online demands and microtransactions will turn off a fair few people spectating in the stands. Polyphony Digital should be proud to celebrate 25 years of such an integral racing series, but they should also be mindful of the community backlash that these DRM demands are amassing. If this is what a cross-gen GT can look like, I can't wait to see what they have in store for Gran Turismo 8. But something tells me we might be waiting a long while before we see that. I've been Inel, and thank you very much for watching this review. If you're new here, consider subscribing to Gamification, where I'll be doing my best to bring you more reviews like this in the future. Also, give this video a thumbs up and a share with a friend if you made it this far. There's so much more to Gran Turismo 7 that no doubt I've probably missed. If you were curious about something that I didn't mention, let me know in the comments below. Also, you can catch me on Twitch 3 times a week, where I stream various different games. You can find me under Inelius. Until next time, thank you for watching.